we're not going to be millionaire like songwriters, but we all have this place where we can go inside. In 1963, the Beatles recorded and released the song, There's a Place. I've always felt that that song was about someone who just went through a really bad breakup. And it's so bad they can't deal with it. So what do? They push it aside. They can't even think about it. So they go inside themselves and they go inside their head and they say, okay, I only want to think about the good old days. I only want to think about the I love yous and the you love me. And maybe if I stay in my happy place long enough, it'll make the bad thing go away. And maybe tomorrow, we can get back together again. Maybe the breakup will just never, ever have happened. And I also think that the song is about that happy place, this place that you can go to, this place that you access, the place that we all have. The place that John and Paul go to, where they take that sad song and they make it better. And, they all had that place. And when I say all of them, I'm talking about John, Paul, George, and Ringo. For instance, Ringo in 1968, evidently he had his own problems and his own stresses that evidently were enough for him to want to quit the Beatles for a while. And he went to his happy place and he told us what that happy place looked like. And it looked like an octopus's garden, where he was warm below the storm. They were happy and they were safe and they were singing and dancing around and everybody was there having tea. And it was all cute and fun and happy. And no one was there to tell Ringo what to do. George has his happy place too, but it certainly wasn't at any business meeting. And the Beatles had to attend those business meetings in 1969. But one day, George just said, I've had enough. I'm not doing it. It's just too gloomy. It's just too dark. I'm not dealing with it. Forget it. So he says, I'm skipping school. I'm out of here. I'm grabbing my guitar. I'm going over to my friend's house. And him and his friend, they're just walking around the garden. They're just strumming their guitars and probably not even meaning to write a song, but before you know it, George is saying, oh, here comes the sun, and it's going to be all right. Do. It just makes me think of what do they always say when our backs are up against the wall? That's when we're at our best. I guess they like a challenge. In 1968, I guess Paul was facing his own challenges, probably personal and some business. And I bet you he was wondering, hey, is my hour of darkness, is it ever going to end? But fortunately for Paul, his muse checks in with him one night. And his muse says, what, hey, Paul, the light is going to shine on you. And, it's not always going to be cloudy, and we're going to come together and it's going to be okay. There will be no sorrow. Let it be. Just let it be. So what does Paul do? Paul takes this very personal message and he turns it into this bigger, universal message to the world. And Paul tells the world that, everything is going to be okay. We can all come together. The light is going to shine on all of us and there's going to be no sorrow. He gives us those words of wisdom. Let it be. Let it be. And that's the gift of Paul. And with John has his own happy place. He has his own unique happy place, his playground that I think that he's been in playing in since he was a kid, where he would write his own stories and illustrate those stories in a way that only John could understand. And that style comes out in a lot of his songs, like I Am the Walrus and I Dig a Pony. But sometimes we can really tell easily what's going on inside of John, like in Help, I'm a Loser, and Nowhere Man. And then there's some other songs that maybe just evoke a feeling or a mood, like Strawberry Fields Forever, where we're not really sure what's going on. We can kind of tell this is something going on inside of John. It feels sort of nostalgic, but there's something else going on there that we don't quite get, that John just says, okay, you guys just figure it out. You guys figure out, I'm just giving you enough here. And that's exactly what he does to George Martin. He says, hey, George Martin, you finish the song for me. But I also think that in one of his songs, in Across the Universe, he tells us exactly what his place looks like, what his playground looks like. And it starts when one time he's there with Cynthia. Cynthia is talking and talking, he says, and John just says, I just can't deal with it. There's all this talking, and I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm just going to check out. Let me tell you what let me show you what I'm talking about here with the Across the Universe. I think John goes inside, and out comes Across the Universe. And John did say, hey, this wasn't me. This came from someplace else. Well, John, I think that this someplace else that it came from was actually you. Okay, so own this poetry, own this work of art, John, because John is showing us his process. It does start with words are flowing out, and I think that refers to the words, him and Cynthia talking, and it starts to kind of shift and change. He starts to play with those words a little bit, and they kind of splash up against each other. He's got sorrow and joy. It's starting to transform. It's just getting into these imagery, and it goes from that joy and sorrow, and it begins to possess and caress him. So he gets more into himself then, and something that maybe feels a little bit better. And then he goes into the imagery with the images of broken light. So all of a sudden these words are changing into maybe something that feels good and something maybe that looks good to him. And then the words change into thoughts that meander like this restless wind. So just there's a lot of movement here. So this is John just kind of going all over the place, whatever feels good, whatever seems good to John, whatever makes sense to him. And then it goes into something bigger. Something happier. It's like sounds of laughter, shades of life are ringing through his opened ears. And then that takes him bigger and outside. Of course, it's still all inside here. So John is transforming like the problem, whatever he perceived as a problem, and he kind of goes in here and lets it kind of tumble around a little bit and let it do whatever it's going to do. And in this case, it kind of turns into limitless, undying love that shines around him like a million suns. And it calls him on and on across the universe. So John is just allowing himself to just go wherever. And John lets us go with him. And that's across the universe. And I mean, that's my take on it anyway. That's what I think. I think John is describing his process and what it looks like in here and what it feels like to him. And it makes me think about what George Harrison said one time when George was thinking about, I think I can write a song too. George Harrison can be a Lennon McCartney. Richard Starkey can be a Lennon McCartney. And I think he was also trying to say everybody can be a Lennon McCartney because everybody has this place inside of them where they can take that sad song and make it better. Where if you're having a bad day, you can go inside and say, you know what? It's going to be okay. All you need is love. And I know that sounds kind of cringy and kind of sappy, but that's the Beatles. They had that message. They were always telling us, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. All you need is love. Let it be. You're happy and you're safe. All that. They were saying that through a lot of their songs, and I believe that. I'm with you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And until next time, peace and love one another. And yeah, it's going to be all right. Do. I know that's a little bit cringy, but I think the Beatles can be a little bit cringy, can be a little bit mushy, a little bit corny, to coin a phrase.